What's happening, Hammer?
Good news on the Alperin Şengün front.
Yeah.
Breaking news from Adrian Wojnarowski did not suffer any major injury on his lower leg. Severely sprained ankle and a bone bruise in his knee. I thought it would be catastrophic. That's really good to hear.
Yeah, that was a all-time bad look on the camera for sure.
Mm.
It's Tilo and Casey here on KIFM West Sacramento 98.5 FM, KRXQ HD2 Sacramento, ESPN 1320, always live on the free Odyssey app and live with our 1320 Kings insider, James Ham of the Insiders, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Here Monday through Friday on ESPN 1320. Hammer, I'm going to steal a phrase out of your vernacular when you're talking to these guys post-game. Where are you at with this team?
I don't. We keep having this discussion like every couple of days, right? They've shown us who they are, and we should believe it. And I think that's the end of the story. Like, this is a solid, middle of the road playoff team in the Western Conference. They have like tremendous holes that they have to fill in order to take any reasonable step forward after this season. And we shouldn't expect them to win the next 19 games or whatever is left. We shouldn't expect them to be anything more than maybe 11-8 over that stretch, or maybe 10-9 over that stretch. They are a 500 team, and they're gonna win some crazy games that they shouldn't, and they're gonna lose a lot of games that they also shouldn't lose. And that's just kind of going to be who they are the rest of this season. And if somehow they change that and they surprise us and they become something more, that would just be jarring and stunning. And I mean, you could applaud it, but at the same time, we have a large enough sample size to know exactly who this group is.
Okay. I mean, anybody who feels that way, I understand it. I get it. Like, um, they've been a team that you can't really get a grasp on, and when you can't get a grasp on it, you just look at what it is. Um, with them being a team that's you know a playoff back into the playoff / play-in type team. We were talking about it earlier. I do think that some of the guys who aren't playing well will play better. I think Keegan Murray will play better. I think Kevin Herter or Harrison Barnes will be more consistent down the stretch and play better. And because of that, I think the team will play better. I mean, I think they'll be a little bit more than the 10-9, 500 team. And like I said, I get it. It's semantics or whatever. I mean, they're not a 500 team. But you know, just like they started off the season playing a certain way, they could revert back to that. I don't know. I look at those individuals, and I think those guys will play more to their averages, which is what they have not played to for the last month and a half or so.
Yeah, I mean, you could hope that some guys like snap out of a season long funk, but I just like at a certain point, like, you have to understand the limitations of a team. Now, if they played nothing but bad teams from here on out, like, I would like to tell you that they would be better than 500, but I think that's the bigger problem. It's that they can't take care of things that are sitting in front of them, and actually walk into a game and make you feel like they're a serious contender
Mhm.
on any level. Like, there just isn't that feel to this group. And again, they could end up with a very similar record to last season. Maybe one or two losses less. Maybe they somehow get to 48 wins. But like, there is no confidence in like what they're doing at this point. They live and die by the three. And at this point, most of their shooters are shooting well below or shooting below their career averages. You can point to a guy like Sabonis and say, yeah, well, he's shooting above his career average, but he shoots so few that it doesn't matter. They like I wrote last night, like this isn't like an anomaly, the 3-point shooting anymore. This is their identity. And I've asked Mike repeatedly what he thinks their identity is, and some of the players what they think the identity is, and they can't really say anything other, like a hard-nosed team that is going to give you a tough out and all that. Like I don't know what it is, but I can just tell you that you let a team. It seems like almost every team in the league is horrible at shooting the three until they face the Kings, and then they're no longer horrible at shooting the three. And even we saw it last night with the way Houston walked in and just trounced the Kings from behind the arc. And the Kings just, again, they don't seem to have their legs. They got guys who are trying to make adjustments to who and what they should be, and that's not going very well. I think outside of that, you got a guy like Malik Monk, who's literally going out there and trying to will his team to win every single night. And I can excuse the Sabonis turnover thing. Sabonis has had that happen to him like 3 times this season. It's going to happen. You're going to have a game where he has 9 turnovers or 11 turnovers. Every once in a while that happens, but I don't know what to make of some of these other guys. And there's no excuse. You don't show up to a bunch of games, and there's no other way to put it. I would like to give like more praise out there, but I don't see it. And that's really kind of, it's just a reality that this is who they're going to be this season.
Hammer, you mentioned the horrible 3-point shooting that Sacramento had last night, and Kenny and I were having the discussion, and this went in the Kings' favor in the fourth quarter, but weighing defense versus just missing shots. What was it last night? Mike talked a lot about Houston and the way that they were defending and how that's a tough team. It's a physical team. You feel them, all of that stuff. But was it what Houston was doing or what Sacramento wasn't doing that led to one of the worst shooting displays of the season?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a tough question because like if it's what Houston's doing and that's it, like then you don't take 32 shots where you're only going to hit 6 of them. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, I get that Houston is tough. They're physical. They have long athletic players. They have, a handful of players that are the type of players that we talked about that the Kings had to go out and get during the offseason, that they had to go out and get, at the trade deadline that they didn't go get. And so you keep coming to this point where, that's not a good basketball team, the Houston Rockets. They're an up and coming team. They have an opportunity to be good and they can beat anyone on any given night, but they stomped you 3 times this season. Like that's a team that you can't match up with and that's a problem. Like how many we have all of these teams in the league now that you're saying, well, you just don't match up well against that team. It's like, okay, well then why didn't you fill that roster spot that would help match you up against a team like that? And the Kings don't. And so again, I don't want to take anything away from Houston because I think they're really well designed. I think that right now they've found a way to. I mean, they're not a good team yet. They're a team that's growing and trying to become good. But they've sort of married the 2 timeline thing with some solid veterans that intertwine with their young players, and their young players are impressive, but like not all of the impressive players on that team are like high tiered first round picks. Some of them are, but a lot of the guys on that team, they're just gritty and they play hard. And that's something where like the Kings should play harder, like especially at home. You at some point you've got to figure out a way to harness home court advantage. You got 18,000 people showing up every night, and the Kings are barely over 500 at home. What are they, 16 and 11, something like that, 16 and 12? That's not
16 to 12, I
acceptable.
believe this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just not acceptable. Like this team, in order to take the big step, they needed to win 30 games at home. They're going to fall, I don't know, 8 games short of that, 7 games short, maybe 9. And that's, again, that's what's going to be on your gravestone at the end of this season.
Yeah, and they've in a situation like last night, you got to make your shots. You know what I mean? Like, that's what this team is. We've
Yeah.
talked about it before. They're not designed to win a game where they only make 6 3-pointers. It's just not who this team is. And they score 104 points, had to scrap really to get to 104 points. They're not designed as much as Mike Brown would want them to be to win some type of defensive rock fight. So when people ask what their identity is and who they are, if they say anything other than a scoring team that goes as their scoring goes, they're lying to themselves. That's who they are. And honestly, to be quite frank, the sooner they embrace that, I think the better they'll be. They may never embrace it this year, but Mike Brown and all these other guys, the sooner they embrace who they truly are, that's when I think they'll take off. But that may not happen this year.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they didn't walk into this season truly embracing the fact that they're a high-powered offense and that's who they should be, to me was kind of jarring in the beginning of the year, but we've got to this point and they haven't been able to get back to who they were. Like as an and sure, since the All-Star break, like the 9 games, I think they're number 4 in offensive rating.
Oh, Mike was pushing that tough last night.
But they're last in defensive rating. Like, and that's just not great. And Mike was pushing that last night. And for me, it's like, okay, there should have been, like we talked about this last year. Like the fact that the Kings like basically went out and drafted Keegan Murray, traded for Kevin Herter, added Malik Monk, but then they added that group to the 2 guys that they had traded for at the deadline, which is Sabonis and Trey Lyles, as at the end of the previous season. And then all of a sudden they walked out on the court and were the highest offensive rated team of all time. That didn't make any sense because that's not usually how offense works. You don't just walk out on the court and all of a sudden you're, Showtime Lakers. That usually takes a couple of years of just development and of chemistry and all that stuff. So there should have been, if you package that up and you walk into the next season, you should have had that style of offense and then built on that offense. There should have been the counter to the counter, the what's next in the development of this offense. And maybe that's something that, you kind of expected because, we went through like the late 90s and early 2000 Kings where, the Princeton style offense, as guys got more and more comfortable within the setting, the read and react was something that became beautiful basketball. You just watch guys do new counters and new moves, and they all knew where each were going, and you could just organically feel the thing growing. I expected more of that this year. I expected this team to not remove sort of who they were, but to add to who they were and to continue to grow as a squad. And that's why you run it back. You bring back the same group because there's that hope that if you keep them together another year and another year, they can make incremental improvements on the defensive side of the ball, but also on the offensive side of the ball to something that's already great. And like whatever has happened this year, it just sputtered. And it's again, they're not that far off of who they were last year, but they are like the look and the feel. And we can talk about expectations, we can talk about all that stuff. I still don't buy that nearly as much that Kings are gearing up to play the Sacramento Kings, that they're doing all this film study. It's an 82 game grind. Everybody's going through the same things. You just aren't playing well. And that's it. Like your team just came out of halftime last night and just got your butts kicked. Like they showed up and you didn't. You had a day of rest and you should have been ready on your home court and you didn't show up. And that's kind of the frustrating part about this team is it just like the Jekyll and Hyde nature of it, where from one game to the next, one quarter to the next, you have no idea what team is going to walk out there and take the court.
Who bears the responsibility for what you just said about the way that they came out in the third quarter?
Like all of them do. Like, I mean, everybody from top to bottom. And I mean all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom. So, like it's not just a trait at this point. It's an identity. And that goes for the guys to put together the team, the guys that coach the team, the guys that step out on the court and continue to put up a subpar performance in 45% of the games that they play. So, I mean, I would like to say, hey, I'm going to give a free pass to Malik Monk because he came out and played really, really hard. And okay, that's one game, and maybe we can say that for a lot of games this season. But then there's games where he doesn't have a great night. There's and players are allowed off nights. It's just too often that this team has this type of performance where you're just left shaking your head like I don't even know what I saw. I don't.
Yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough to see them going down this road and playing the way they do. For one, I think they will play better down the stretch. I understand there's nothing that really shows
Those
that they
words are
will.
going on your tombstone,
I'm
buddy.
telling you, I think they will. There's nothing that shows that they will. One of the things that I do see though is aside from last night I just didn't think they played well, and particularly in that third quarter. I think for the most part they're playing good basketball more times than not. Um, the thing is they haven't been able to hold a lead, which isn't a good thing. Like, I'm not saying it like it's a good thing, but you have to get to a certain point to even have a lead to blow, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that I look at.
Man, this is potential Senator Kenny Caraway right here running for office. Like, man, you are talking in political terms. I know the election is not too far behind us. Shout out Dr. Flo. But man,
I'm just saying, like, I think they will play better down the stretch and more consistent in a good way down the stretch.
I always have that hope that you're gonna watch something different, and then some nights you get it, and that's the frustrating thing. Again, they're over 500, so it's not like they're 9 games over 500. I've covered horrible basketball teams here in Sacramento. This isn't a horrible basketball team. It's a frustrating basketball team, but it's not horrible. And the fact that they haven't been able to embrace success it's almost mind numbing. You're just like you're confused by it. You're waiting for this moment where they string together this win streak and everything's great. And then you get to this moment right here where they could have gone to 3 games in a row, and that would have been impactful in the standings. And that's just not who you get each and every night with this team. And again, I think that there are some really good things that are happening this season. I do like the fact that Sabonis has become like consistently superb. That's something you point to. The fact that Fox has been able to, step up and become even more than we thought he could be. And the fact that Keegan Murray continues to grow into who he's going to be as a player. And we all want more from him, like quicker than he's able to give at this point. But there's still, you can see the outline of who he's going to be down the road. And, I brought up Monk just a minute. Like Malik Monk has been brilliant. Like he's now the odds on favorite to win the sixth man of the year. And he should win sixth man of the year without any question. And the fact that he's trying to carry this team is, for me, it's just another sign of how valuable he is and what he means to this group. But there's also just this overall disconnect between like the whole entire squad. And I think that's, again, I'll point to early in the season, uh, uh, they made shirts, they say connected. And that's like the last thing I see right now is connected. They don't feel connected as a group. And I don't know how to fix that. And that's something that, should have worked itself out by this point in the season. Like the chemistry is kind of weird. So
you think, and I asked Casey this earlier, you think there's any splintering at all with this team?
do I think they're splintering?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's why you have a team meeting. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's like major problems, but like we've seen it in wins, we've seen it in losses. I know Malik got frustrated last night. I don't really buy into all of this stuff when it comes to Herter and Trey Lyles in the win the other night, where everyone took all these like Zapruder film like still shots of Kevin Herter walking by with his hood over his face, or Trey Lyles sitting on the bench.
Trey Lyles sitting on the bench was hilarious, though.
That's funny.
Absolutely hilarious.
I got to be honest. Like I think Trey, like you talked to Trey, we talked to Trey the day after. He's just frustrated that it took that's how they had to win the game. He's frustrated. Like he's searching for that accountability, and like, how are we holding each other accountable? And I think that wasn't like, hey, I'm pouting because I'm not in the game. It was how do we escape with this win that we probably didn't deserve? And
Mhm.
that's what that look is more. Now I don't know that that's the same with every single player, but yeah, like it's difficult. Like I know earlier in the day, Kyle and I were discussing sort of the Keegan Murray situation, right? And to me, I'm not concerned with Keegan Murray's development. I think Keegan Murray's been really good most of the season. He's been great defensively on a night in and night out basis. Every once in a while, he gets in foul trouble, and that takes away from it. But it's hard for a second year player to grow into be the defensive player and the offensive player at the same time. And so I expect him to come back next season and be better prepared to play defense for 48 minutes and play offense for 48 minutes. Because right now he keeps getting worn out. That's what it feels like. And the Kings have like one of the top things that they have to do this offseason. They have to find someone else who can play defense like Keegan Murray. So he's not the guy who has to defend the toughest player on the other team every single night and get worn out, so he can't also be an offensive player. And that's something that they have to find. And so I see the path forward for some of these guys, and a lot of it makes sense, but it's just kind of tough to watch them go through the growing pains, because it's not like this team wants to be this way. They don't. They walk out of a game like last night, and they don't get it either. They don't feel like they're a bad team. They don't feel like they didn't try hard. They they're as confused as we are in a lot of ways, at least from what I can tell.
Yeah, and a guy like Keegan, they need him right now. Whether that's asking him to do too much too soon or whatever, but they need him to be more consistent on both sides of the ball. Like you said, I think he does a good job on the defensive end, but that can't take away from your production on the offensive end with this particular team. Like they need that from this particular team, and it just a little too up and down right now from the Keegans, the Harrisons, the Herders, and guys like that. They've got to find some consistency. Well, the Kings, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, and I mean, to that point, like, look, uh, what I'm not advocating for, like, for like complete wholesale changes. Everyone's got to go, and like this Keegan Murray is a bust, and all that. That's not what I'm
Ooh, tweet
saying.
that.
No, what I'm
Kings
saying,
insider James Ham. Keegan Murray is a bust. ...
no,
Says 95-7 the game.
what I'm saying is very clearly is like players have strengths and weaknesses, right? We all know that, and some of uh, the players that you have aren't complementing the weaknesses of the stars that you have at this point. And by having Keegan Murray defend the toughest guy on the opposition every single night, that's not the best way. It's fine for him to do that half the time, or to do that for 20 minutes a game. But if you're going to ask him to do that as a second year player, then he can't be a guy averaging 18 to 20 points a game. Those two things can't coexist. And so either he has to take a major step back as a scorer and just be that defensive guy the whole game, and someone like Harrison or someone like Kevin Herter has to step back up and be the offensive player, or you need to find the 3-and-D guy that complements Keegan. And that's something that, like, I'll just keep saying is, like, it doesn't matter what you do. You can't make Domantas Sabonis's arms longer, and you can't make him a premier shot blocker. That's just not who he is. You have to embrace all of the things that are good that he does, And then you need to find players to put alongside him that give you the other thing that he lacks. And that's what I'm waiting for, because it's the same thing with him. It's the same thing with De'Aaron. Like, you need complementary pieces to play off of each other. And I think for year one of this thing, it did work. They found a way to build this thing out really quickly. But as you morph and you become, year two and year three of a team, there's always going to be change. And now I think you have a better idea what you need for this team, and that's length, it's athleticism, it's 3-point shooting, but it's also guys that can take the pressure off of some of your star level players and even complement them more. It's one thing to have guys who just shoot the three and space the floor for Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. The next iteration of this team needs to be guys that can do that, but also are elite defensive players or really good defensive players that complement them on both ends of the court, not just one end of the court.
We'll come back. We'll talk more with our Kings insider of the insiders, our man James Ham here, is dealing with KC. Roll along on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Just real quick, it's two quick things, and I'm not sure. Like, sometimes I catch things late. Like, I'm not sure if I am not Ham. I saw something you messaged earlier. I'm not sure if you. Michigan loves his boxing, but he calls Manny Canelo. Like the serial connection in the chat, like he calls him Canelo. So I'm not sure if you picked up on that, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. Also, for those who haven't been keeping track, Dr. Flo is number 2 in a razor thin race for the mayoral spot. No one's going to get the 50%, but if they get these damn votes counted, Dr. Flo right now is in the 2 spot, but only by a shade under 200 votes. So every vote counts, man.
Yeah, man.
And hopefully Dr. Flo will be leading the way come November. That's all.
Yeah.
Nah, Ramsey, she's second, buddy. She's second.
There's a lot of craziness in the chat. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to be realistic. I hope people get that.
Yeah, Mama Fox just said she had to be talked off the ledge. Like, we all feel the same way. Like,
yeah,
it is,
like
man.
I'm not like, this isn't the end of the world. This is just a really, really hard growing pain. You know what I'm saying? It's like you just get to a point and you have to be honest about yourself, and you got to be honest about other people. Like, that's why I try to approach this thing.
About to KSFM the show and stand up from way back here.
Sometimes you got to do it.
Well, if James would do this, maybe he wouldn't make those noises when he stands up. That's what I just felt like. I stood up. I was like, oh, that's not good.
Oh.
I'll move around.
You know what
for a
I
little
blame?
bit before I start feeling like Ham.
I blame you. You don't have arms on your chair over there.
Only the guys on the other side of the room get the arms.
Did you break into the fortress of
that's the big boy seat?
I'm like Draymond. I just got this by my teammate. That's it.
This is a big.
I didn't do anything to get this. It was my teammate.
Okay, that was an unnecessary shot at Draymond. Draymond ain't bothering nobody.
What?
Don't do that. You just took it. Don't do that.
Did you break into the fortress of Snackitude?
I didn't. I brought my lunch today, so far I'm good. That's only break glass in case of emergency.
No, you're always welcome.
Yeah, I'm gonna go take a peek. I ain't gonna lie. I don't bring as much food as Kenny does. So
okay, and you know where it's at? Where the code is?
I'm just gonna put the code into all of them.
I got you, dude. I'll show you. They got it organized and everything. It's crazy.
Oh man,
I'm gonna have to go see this thing now.
Oh, wait a minute.
It's assorted and everything.
Oh,
I thought James threw like a bag of chips in there or whatever. No, it's just legit.
It's legit. We got peanut butter and Ritz hiding in there, but like a real jar of peanut butter and real sleeves of Ritz.
Got any tuna and crackers?
No, we didn't do tuna and crackers, but I do have like a cup of soup, I do have like the Costco version of like the kind bars.
Mm-hmm.
We've got what's the Skinny Pop, and we've
What
got
James hasn't told us is we have to leave $10 behind every time.
no.
It's like those hotels where if you move something,
It's a mini
it charges
bar.
your card. It charges your card $10.
I'm gonna mini bar your guys' asses.
You move a bag of popcorn, and all of a sudden your alert pops up. $5.
Hawaiian chips. Got Hawaiian chips in there. Fig bars. Oh yeah.
Vending machine guy's gonna be pissed because James is moving on his
soup,
turf.
Yeah,
I am moving in on his territory.
yeah. There's gonna be mad beef in here, boss.
Whoa. Whoa.
Here we go, James. All right. Quick alert for everybody. We're big Cavs fans today.
Yeah.
Beginning at 4:30.
The land.
Hashtag the land. Manny, we're big fans of the Chicago Bulls. Coach Molly, big fans of the Chicago Bulls tonight.
They're back home, I think, after this.
In Chicago, yes, indeed. Mavericks are in Chicago tonight. Cleveland hosts Phoenix. And
damn, what is it?
Go Vic.
What we got to get these right. Is it the land? Is it what?
Why are we pretending like it matters? You had set the pace as the tweet last year.
Right. Yeah, and the Mavericks could not keep up with the Pacers' pace. Works.
Oh, wow, you're really hanging
your
hat on that one, huh?
It works.
Okay.
I got
so
your
let's
back.
see. We'll go the land, hashtag the land.
Yeah.
Hashtag Shot-Town.
Okay.
Hashtag Go Spurs Go. I do know that.
Go Spurs Go. Yeah, it's the Warriors at Spurs. No word. I just closed the injury report. Do we have a word on Victor Wembanyama
I haven't
yet?
seen anything.
Yeah. So is James frozen?
I thought he was just waiting for us to finish talking.
No, James froze. I was like, James has got nothing on these games. No, he's just straight up frozen.
Let me put these in here while we get James back here.
Now, James will thaw out here in a minute, and we'll talk more Kings basketball. But Coach Molly chimes in and says, "Go Bulls!" Yes, indeed. Bulls host the Mavericks tonight. Suns are in Cleveland, and the Warriors are in San Antonio.
Victor Wembanyama is playing.
He is playing.
Vic.
He's
No
back
minutes
tonight.
limit.
No
Vic.
minutes restriction.
Let's go, Vic. Is
Let's
Devin
go.
Vassell playing?
Let me
Because
check
he didn't
that.
play on Saturday. Warriors lost without Devin Vassell there.
Your Spurs insider right
Oh,
here.
you made a you can't do that.
What?
You made a like kind of a face and a like an implication there.
No,
You
I was
can't do that.
surprised.
Okay.
I thought they were going to win on
You
Saturday.
just need to know it came across a certain way. And
Devin Vassell game time decision.
Well, I may or may not have been there like Ma.
well, you I thought that was Octavia Spencer, and you
Yeah.
can't
The
tweet
movie
like
was
that.
called Ma.
Yeah, you can't tweet like that.
I just
Some of you need to get
I
your
was
Twitter
looking around
behavior
there, I
under
saw-
control.
look. I was looking around the corner. I saw that.
And then what happened? Then what happened?
Nothing happened. It was Saturday. The Kings went to 6. That's what happened.
Well, they did. They did. And the second they played a game, they went back to 7. So the good news is they don't play tonight and could very well wind up back in 6.
True that.
He's back.
Hey, I need the Kings to be in 6 for Wednesday. So when they put the graphic up during their ESPN game, it has.
Well, that's almost impossible because they play Tuesday.
Oh, they could. So they're just not going to win, huh? Is that what you're telling me?
You got to win both.
Well, at the rate it goes, no. No, it's better
Actually,
to not play.
At the rate it goes, they'll probably win. I keep telling you guys, if you're going to say this, you've got to be consistent with it.
No, because they've won 2 in a row.
No,
They
the
won
Bucks
2
are
in a
good
row.
Team. That means they'll win.
Hmm.
That's the story of this season. It's not inconsistent. They're consistent. They play well against the good teams. They don't show up against the bad teams. They'll probably win on Tuesday.
Yeah, but when they have 2 wins in a row, they usually lose the next 2. Let's see. Here's a win streak of 4. Lose to the Heat. Well, no, that one they didn't. They won 6 of 7. So maybe it's possible. That was only almost 2 months ago, but maybe it's that's okay. That's okay. James's team is maddening, dude. His team is absolutely maddening.
I mean, they're driving us to drink at this point. I mean,
And you know
that's
what the amazing thing is? Yeah, some of us don't need a ride there. The amazing thing is, like, all of this heartache. What do they want to play in and then want a playoff series?
Hey, it could happen. We just saw it a year ago.
Like, we're putting ourselves through all of this, like, begging, because we believe that there's this road they're supposed to take. Whereas, when do what the Lakers did last year, right? Lakers want to play in. Well, they went all the way to the finals.
Well, I'm just saying, just win one series. I ain't saying go to the finals.
Yeah, just do
I
that.
Saying that. I
mean, they can if they want to.
I've been accused of being overly optimistic. I ain't gonna be that optimistic here to say they get into the finals. I did say last week, and I still believe they do have a second round ceiling. I think a lot of people think if they get in, what does it matter? They're a first round and out team.
Oh, it matters a lot. Get to the first round.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. I do think they can win a series, though.
Cool. Yeah. Let's find out. How about that?
Why not?
Yeah.
I also think it's possible they don't make the playoffs.
That's very possible.
That would suck.
Very, very possible.
Yeah. And someone asked earlier, like, is there a way to work things out with Atlanta? Not really. Atlanta's not going to take your 2024 first round pick if they don't have to. They're not going to. Like, before this season, sure, you might have been able to work out some sort of deal, but no. At this point, nobody is enamored with the 2024 NBA draft, and they're going to turn down the opportunity to take your pick if they have that choice. So,
oh, did you see, like, the whole Celtics team is on the injury report for their game against Portland tonight? Like, the whole starting 5 is on the injury report.
Are they out, or are they?
No, I don't think they're out. Or at least they haven't been ruled out yet. No, they're just all listed with something. I think
Porzingis and Holiday are out. The rest are playing.
Okay, there you go. Porzingis and Holiday are out. I think they were just cracking a window, just looking to see what Adam would let him get away with.
Better not see that on Thursday. I know that.
Thursday's Phoenix. Yeah.
I'm also like, today is the day. So Donovan Mitchell won't play tonight against the Cavs. I mean, against the Suns. That makes him ineligible for postseason awards.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it opens. I guess it opens the door for De'Aaron and Domas. I don't know. I have no idea. Like, I feel like Anthony Davis already has his spot set in stone.
After not seeing him for a week, he plays a game like that on Sunday. Yeah, clearly he's an NBA.
Yeah, Domas has had like 4
guy.
of those, and it's never made a aggregated.
This guy's been non-existent for a week, and he plays a really good game last night. Not taken away from the game, but all of a sudden, that's Anthony Davis. All right.
Hey, I also think, thanks to Bleacher Report, everyone believes he's 9-0 against Anthony Davis is 9-0 against Sabonis all time. Just saying. You're going to build a graphic and put the guy. Yeah, they said, again, Sabonis is 9-0 against Anthony Davis. It has a big 9, a dash, and an O. By the 9 is a picture of Anthony Davis. By the 0 is a picture of Domantas Sabonis. Like, hey, you might have. Well, their faces were screaming that way, so it made more sense. It's like, no, you needed to find a different picture or just invert the picture. How about that? Just flip it.
I do feel the need to stall Anthony Davis out. He did have 40 like a couple days ago, a week ago.
A week ago?
20 and 25 yesterday.
It was a little over a weekish.
Yeah, didn't I say? That's what I said. We hadn't seen him for a week.
Well, he had 22 and 13 the game before.
D'Lo had 42 that day. He had a Batman.
He did.
He had a Batman. So he could, do his little thing.
Who had a Batman?
AD. He didn't have to be Batman. He had a Batman.
He had a Batman. Got you. Because that was a game LeBron didn't play, yeah?
Mm-hmm. LeBron was on the sideline.
Okay. All right. We don't need to revisit that again. Though it was fun. It was fun.
And to be fair, we crack our jokes, but we both agree Anthony Davis is having an all NBA caliber season.
Yeah.
Should he make it over Domantas Sabonis? I don't think so, but that
I
doesn't
don't
mean
think he should.
he isn't having that type of season statistically.
I think
for
it's
sure.
just frustrating that he has it's like so much noise for him to make it win by the slimmest of margins. His team isn't better and his numbers aren't eye-popping. Like, he's on the Lakers, and that's all we're talking about is LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. Like, that's what we're talking about, and not Domas's teammate De'Aaron Fox and the Sacramento Kings. It's like they don't have that cachet, and it sucks because Domas's season is phenomenal, and there's a very real chance he walks into the offseason with like nothing to show for it. After having an all-star bid and an all-NBA bid last year, James, there's a very real possibility that Domas walks into this offseason with neither one of those.
Oh, no, I think that's very possible. And then add in the fact that he has a $1.3 million bonus for making the All-Star team that he already lost, and $1.3 million bonus for making All-NBA, which he may or may not get. I think he could be aided by the fact that this year, number one, there's a bunch of players who are not going to be eligible because of games played. But also, I think the second piece is that that they're just drafting on the top 15 players. They're not drafting position wise, if I'm not
Right.
mistaken.
That's
So even at this point, like Embiid can't make the All NBA team. Jokic is number one. You would assume that AD and Domantas would be number two and number three in some order. But then there's always Bam Adebayo who could sneak in and somehow steal one of those spots. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that winning cures all, and that's something that, except for teams like, again, like the Lakers, which it doesn't matter whether they win or not, they're going to get representation. And I'd say the same thing, like the inconsistency of Anthony Davis this year is one thing, and he is like he's not a 1A, he's a 1B for sure. But then like Paul George's season to me is really baffling that he's considered just like a lock for an all-star because they already had a representation in Kawhi. And then Paul George really hasn't. I mean, to me, every time I see him play, he's not excellent. He's a guy who's admitted the fact that he can't go out there and put up 50 anymore. He's not that guy anymore. But he still gets recognized as that, and he's still a really good player. But a player who averages 23, 5, and 5 doesn't compare to someone averaging 20, 13 and a half and 9. That it's just you don't. And so I'm confused. There are multiple guys that you can kind of look at their all-star, but also what they're going to finish the season as, and make a case for Sabonis to be much higher on everyone's board than he should be and than he is right now.
Man, I sure hope he gets there.
I wonder how many people vote on Old Habit, like not selecting like Jokic, Domas, AD, but like get to guy number 10 or whatever, and think, oh, you know what? We need one more center.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not because they have to, just out of habit and trying to balance it out so there's not 15 guards and forwards or 14 in Jokic or whatever. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I wonder.
I'm surprised too. I keep running into people who say, if I had a vote, but I don't have a vote anymore. And I just think that that's an interesting, like, it seems like a lot of all the local guys don't have a vote anymore, or most of the local guys. I believe Jonathan Fagan from the Houston Chronicle told me that last night that he doesn't have a vote. But which, at some point I believe he did have a vote. So it's just kind of an interesting wrinkle that I think different. I think most of it is national. And
Jason Jones of The Athletic would tell us all the time he doesn't want that. Like, he doesn't want to influence whether a guy loses $70 million or not. Like, he does not want that responsibility.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I don't blame guys for going, I'm good. Like, nah, I'm cool.
Yeah.
It's something that Scott Howard Cooper talked about all the time. He hated it. Like, he thought it should not be a function of their job, because you're voting on whether a person that you have to go stand in a locker room and talk to, and if your vote ever got out, how do you think someone like, I mean, Sabonis isn't going to say anything, but you don't think he would be pissed if he knew that you didn't vote for him and it cost him $1.3 million bucks?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, even for a multimillionaire. It's a lot of money. But yeah, it's weird how it's attached to somebody's salary, and whether somebody is up for a super max or not.
Yeah, that's the killer. It's the
That's because
super
that
max.
is
Yeah.
a gang of
That
money.
is
We're not
a
talking
lot of
that's
money.
$1 or
life-changing
$2
money.
million.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
40 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder. I guess maybe they had the chance recently and they kept it the same way. I wonder if they'll get rid of this type of system because
They thought this system, the NBA thought this system would help them.
yeah, in theory
And it
makes sense, but
Yeah.
it's just because once again, it's you probably think, how can we trust the people that would probably look to pay you the absolute least they can? How can we trust them to do what's right and
Yeah.
pay you maybe what you're worth? So we'll put it in the hands of these guys. But in theory, it's a good idea. In actuality, it's not. Maybe just do away with the whole system of incentivizing all NBA or something like that. That probably is the best answer. And if you want to be able to offer somebody more, it just be because you had them in your city for 2 years already or something like that.
There's just so much football news going on right now. It's crazy. So
Yeah, well, Juwan Jennings re-signed with the 49ers on a tender deal. So basically it allows them to keep negotiating. I think it's about $4.3 million second round tender. So
Surprised?
a little bit. I thought he was going to be gone for sure, but it looks like they're still trying to work some things out. I hope they can. I love Juwan Jennings. I think he's a perfect number 3 receiver for what they try to do. Third and Juwan was not just something that was said loosely. Like he was money on third down. So I hope they can. I hope he's back next year for sure, but I hope they can work out something a little more long term.
what are your thoughts on the Niners landing Leonard Floyd?
Oh, he made a slight error on his tweet today.
What I didn't see.
He was excited.
Uh-huh.
He said San Fran.
Oh, they got him.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like tweeting Sacktown, here I come. Like, oh, buddy, that's not real. That's not real. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh no. Damn. I haven't even checked the comments and mentions. I'm sure it's, hey, buddy, welcome, but don't do that.
That's not what we do.
It's
not what we do. I like Leonard Floyd. I think he's not the same guy he was, in their Super Bowl years, the Rams, but let's see what he can do. I think they're really going to be trying to revamp that defensive line.
Yeah.
And they'll try and do that in free agency and in the draft. I think this draft is really they're really looking for that next wave, of top tier players, top tier playmakers, another receiver, another tight end, offensive lineman, defensive lineman. I think this is a big draft to really try and get those that next wave.
Good news is this is the year they'll hit in the second or third round, and we know they're going to hit in the 5th and 6th. So,
oh man, that's money.
It's great spot for
these guys. I was talking about talking to one of the homies about it, man. Look, man, Kyle and John, they got a track record at this point. They know what they're doing. They find talent. They find good ball players. So I don't feel like that's going to stop.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Any thoughts on Gardner Minshew, Hammer, and the Las Vegas Raiders?
I like him. I mean, to be honest,
James.
I like him. I like him more than I like Jimmy Garoppolo. Like I do. He's proven to be a really good backup quarterback, but also a dude who just comes in and, like he can definitely lose a game that that he shouldn't, but he's also a fiery guy who I think people get behind. And you need to go out and draft a really good quarterback and have him develop behind him, or draft a really good quarterback and give him a start. And if it doesn't work out and you need to back off from that, then throw Gardner Minshew out there. So I don't think it's bad. I would have enjoyed him as a San Francisco 49ers backup quarterback. If they're not going to bring Darnold back, I don't know what's going to happen there, but like he's a solid, above average backup quarterback. That's what it looks like to me.
They should draft. The 49ers should draft a quarterback. That would be my thought.
You brought him up. You think even with Brandon Allen?
Yeah, I'm not crazy about Brandon Allen.
Well, I just meant like another young guy. Like you want another young guy in the locker room or in the quarterback room, I guess.
Yeah, that's fine. I think
Okay.
Purdy is ready to,
be the leader.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think you have Brian Greasy there, right? As their quarterbacks coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
was about to
quarterback.
say, oh my God, really? That's crazy.
As
Oh,
a
it's a
player.
quarterback coach. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Makes
He's
way
their
more
quarterbacks
sense.
coach. Yeah.
That's good stuff. I don't remember what football related thing I was going to ask you, so I guess we'll just close out with the Sacramento Kings. Huge week ahead, James. Milwaukee and Los Angeles the next 2 nights. And then they hit the weekend with a really tough game against the New York Knicks. And, James, I'm sure you saw this. Looks like OG Anunoby will be back by then. It appears he's going to return to the New York Knicks tomorrow, according to Shams Charania. Even if the Knicks get a little cautious and decide not to bring him back tomorrow, it seems pretty clear he's going to be back by the time the Knicks take the Golden One Center on Saturday.
Yeah, that's big for them.
It's a brutal week.
Yeah, but you know what? That's why you have to take care of the games against teams that you should beat. So when you have weeks like this, especially playing the Lakers again on a back-to-back, you've got to go out there and find a way. And I think the one weird thing about this Kings team is we can talk all we want about the blown losses, but also the big wins. Who knows? I mean, they had this Bucks team beat and they missed free throws. They're 3-0 against the Lakers. I think this is the first time they played the Knicks, right? Am I wrong?
Second time. No, they lost in no, this is the first time because they play in New York in about a couple weeks.
Yeah. And then the Kings have that weird road trip into what is it, Toronto? Is it Toronto, New York, and Orlando? Something like that.
They got a Toronto, Washington, Orlando,
Washington,
and then a Boston, New York, Brooklyn, somebody else.
Goodness gracious.
That's their 2 separate road trips.
Yeah.
I think that other one, is it Philly? Do they have Philly in that road trip?
Philly comes here. They played in Philly already, so Philly comes here.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of there's plenty of ways to make up and to sort of get back on the right track here, but the strength of schedule is tough. And if you somehow beat the Lakers on Wednesday, I mean, you put the nail in their coffin as far as like what they can do against you specifically, just because you would be, like you already have won the season series, but that would push them even further down past you. But I would like to tell you that I know who's going to show up and who's not, and that's just not the case. So it's definitely a weird team.
We do not know.